CNN is going to have a wonderfully absurd conversation about the internet. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. But they're going to. Kyra Phillips and John Roberts are going to get on there and pretend that what happened to Shirley Sherrod is not just about Andrew Breitbart, because they're too scared to name names, right? They can't say, oh, it's just about conservative bloggers who've done this over and over again. Oh, no, that would be unbalanced. So what they're going to do is they're going to smear everyone on the internet and do it with unbelievable ignorance. So let's check out the first clip.
There are so many great things that the internet does and has to offer, but at the same time, Kira, as you know, there is this dark side where anyone's enemy can take something nasty and post it on the internet, and maybe it doesn't rise to the level as it did with Shirley Sherrod, but it still gets out there among a certain community and does damage to that person's reputation. Imagine what would have happened if we hadn't taken a look at what happened with Shirley Sherrod and plumbed the depths further and found out that what had been posted on the internet was not, in fact, reflective of what she said. Would she still be without a job? Would her reputation still be ruined? That to some degree, is the effect of what many people might consider to be a wild west of the internet, where anybody can post anything they want about anyone. Andrew Keen is the author of The Cult of the Amateur: How Blogs, MySpace, YouTube, and other user-generated media are killing the American economy, the culture, and our values. Here's what he says about this idea that people can post whatever they want about anyone, and many times, probably more times than not, get away with it.
What I think it reflects is a certain sort of paranoia about media, an obsession with conspiracy, a kind of a lunacy that reflects us, an extremism, a bitterness, but also a degree of responsibility. I think this case is interesting because it shows the worst of the internet, in the sense that someone printed a lie or published a lie, which then was virally spread and almost ruined her life. But then part of the internet, and also mainstream media guys like you, came to the rescue. And you sorted the case out. You showed that it was a lie. You revealed the fact, the reality, the truth, which was actually the very opposite of what was published.
But, John, we can't always do that. I mean, there's going to have to be a point in time where these people have to be held accountable. How about all these bloggers that blog anonymously? They say rotten things about people, and they're actually given credibility, which is crazy. They're a bunch of cowards. They're just people seeking attention. So what does this guy propose that we can do about it?
Well, what Andrew talked about with me was this idea of a gatekeeper, but there are huge First Amendment rights that come into play here, freedom of speech and all of that.
I love that. Yeah, we got that freedom of speech and all of that. I mean, if we could just have gatekeepers, like the mainstream media, we don't let this riffraff give their opinions. Only if you get paid a lot of money by a news station pretending to be a news anchor, then you are legitimate, credible. You see how outraged Kyra Phillips was? Who gives these people credibility? You know, how dare they? And that guest they had was the worst. Andrew Keen, who wrote about the cult of the amateur online, how it's killing the American economy and our culture. Okay, and then he talks about extremism and lunacy and bitterness. Those guys look bitter. Okay, they look bitter, like, why are they taking our job? Why do people trust them and they don't trust us? And extremism, how about painting the entire internet as a place for loony whack jobs who should have no credibility and never do anything positive? So there was something really bad that happened here with Shirley Sherrod. And there's a guy responsible for it. His name is Andrew Breitbart. He does it all the time. You don't have to, you know what's extreme? Taking what he did and smearing the whole internet with it, as if everybody online is some sort of weirdo and who should have no credibility. You know who's online? Your mom, okay? Your daughter, your son, your aunt, your uncle. We're all online. I mean, what, these guys live in, what, 1948? And they're like, oh, what is this internet in a series of tubes? Oh, here they smear people on their lunacy. Oh, what would have happened if the mainstream media hadn't ridden to the rescue? Here's what would have happened. 28 other blogs would have countered with the evidence. And then you guys would have figured it out 2 weeks later and then run the story, maybe. Look, give credit to where credit is due. CNN broke that story, which they don't often do, but they did a good job with it. But to come in here and do the smear job is ridiculous. And by the way, you know who's larger online? Liberals are larger than conservatives. Why are they getting smeared for something the conservatives did? Because these guys aren't thinking, and they're worried, right? They're worried about their job. They get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to read what's in that prompter, right? They're news actors, and they pretend here like they're like the upstanding news people. Well, what did you do when Bush was in charge? What are you doing when Obama's in charge? How many stories have you broken? I give you credit for this one. Did you break any important stories about Iraq? Did you break any important stories about Afghanistan? In fact, you get mad when WikiLeaks break the story. You've forgotten what journalism is, and you're going to go complain about people online. It's because they continually embarrass you, usually by getting stuff you didn't even get. Mainstream news to the rescue, please. Now, if you think all that's bad, they're not done yet. They're going to have a colorful analogy to what the internet is. Let's watch.
And to some degree, the internet is like a giant worldwide bathroom wall that you can write anything you want about anyone under an anonymous pseudonym. Now, somebody's going to have that information, but you know, I've always thought that if you're going to say something, if you're going to criticize someone in a public forum, have the courage to, at the very least, put your name on it. I mean, the better thing would be if you've got a criticism for someone, say it to their face.
Right.
But at the very least, have the, whatever you want to call them, to put your name to it.
You want to call them balls. And if you want, John, here I am. I'm saying it to your face. In a public forum, you can watch this. Your criticism there of the internet was ridiculous, and to use Kira's words, cowardly. Why? Because you smear the whole internet based on what one conservative guy did. And you're afraid to point that out because you'll look unbalanced. And you're afraid that the internet breaks stories all the time that you don't. So what did you just call them? You call them a giant bathroom wall. Keep it classy. Here I am in a public forum criticizing you. How you like them apples?